What's up, Sassy Gamers? Today is July 24th, 2021. I am Mike. I'm here with Brian and Kelly, and Bruno is out in the field still. His computer decided to do an update, which completely destroyed his computer, as typical. But yeah, so we're here. I told it's an interesting story. If you're listening to the podcast, we all forgot to hit record when we were doing this live. So
we all.
Oh, okay. So two-thirds.
Kelly was on top of it.
2/3 of us forgot to hit the record button. So unlike last week where I had to just fake everything, I will start over.
The weaker sex let us all down.
That's true. Yeah. That's basically it.
That's recorded for sure, right?
Yeah, it's definitely.
So
3 ways.
3 ways. Okay, so Kelly, you have been in the field reporting. Over this past week, and I think you want to tell us about it.
So you guys were kind enough to push back the podcast to today because of me. I have been in Cape Cod, my very first time going to Cape Cod. I had an amazing time. We spent every day at the beach. If for those of you who only listen to the podcast, you're not going to be able to see this, but I am Irish and Norwegian. So I am possibly the whitest white person on the planet. But I have a watch tan. Can you see that?
There you go. Tan line. Yeah.
So the sun was coming this way. So this side's not so good. But look at that. I have a tan. Unintentionally, I SPF 50 every day. But Cape Cod, home of, Jaws, great whites, come on in. The water's fine.
Is that really where Jaws is at? Up that way?
Yeah,
that
it's
far
supposed
up there?
to be.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think it was actually
that.
filmed there. I think it was actually filmed in
a studio
off the coast of
California.
California, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be set in Cape Cod. And my brother-in-law and sister-in-law vacation there every single summer. So we piggybacked on their vacation kind of last minute. And talking about the great whites, I was like, yeah, so how do we know if there's sharks in the water? And my brother-in-law brought up this app that I thought was really interesting. It's called Sharktivity. So if you are, and you can technically use this app anywhere, but
so this is where the sharks tell that's how they meet up and stuff. They're all Foursquare, yo, I'm over here, check me out.
Yeah, it's a social media app for sharks. No. They say on the website, the goal of this app is to raise awareness and help facilitate the peaceful coexistence between humans and white sharks. So you're not supposed to swim with seals. If you see a seal, GTFO, because they go for seals mostly. And let me preempt this by saying I did not see a single white shark or great white. But the app records, it's basically a crowdsourced app. So you can show photographic evidence of a great white. You can just say, hey, I think I saw a great white. Fisher people, I guess I should say, can log in, say, I've seen this shark, or some of the sharks are tagged, and you can see there are buoys that will sense the sharks, so you can see where the sharks were. Thankfully, none of them were near our beach, but there were some over the last week at on the arm of Cape Cod. So it was a really neat app.
So how are you checking this while you're swimming in the ocean?
Yeah, so, one, my phone's waterproof. But 2, we didn't get very good reception. So, I had a really hard time even getting, text messages and stuff on the beach. But I would check it every day. So we were in the clear. We could see where most of the sharks were. And there weren't a ton, I'll say. But it was really cool. One of the sharks' names is Hillary. And it was Hillary was detected at these 2 buoys. So.
Did you swipe right on that one, or...
What?
Did you swipe right on that one?
I totally swiped right on Hillary. Totally. She is a nice-looking shark.
So I looked it up real quick because I was interested when you said that about Jaws and the filming. And it's interesting that the film takes place in the fictional town of Amity Island in New York.
That's what I thought it was New York.
But
right.
but it was actually filmed
in Cape Cod.
at Martha's
Martha's Vineyard. Okay,
which
got
is
it,
the
got it,
small
okay.
island just south of Cape Cod.
Okay. Yeah, so it all goes kind of blurry for me. Sorry,
I'm surprised it wasn't California.
Yeah. But if you've ever been to Cape Cod, or if you're ever thinking about going to Cape Cod, definitely go. There are a couple of little teeny tiny towns. It's definitely slower paced. My husband was like, I just realized we didn't see a single McDonald's. It was a lot of fun. It was really nice, really great food, really nice people.
I was going to say, why would you want to see McDonald's?
I know, yeah. I had a lobster roll almost every day, so
Nice.
it was awesome.
I haven't been up that far north. Farthest north I've been so far has been New York, actually.
Oh,
So
okay.
Buffalo, we drove into Buffalo, and then I've been to New York City, New York, and that's
Okay.
the
I've never
furthest
been to
north I've been.
NYC.
That was really fun.
I've been to New York
That-
State, but never.
We
near-
went 2019 right before the pandemic. Well, actually, technically, while the pandemic was already happening, we just
Yeah.
didn't know it.
Yeah.
We went, and it was a great time during Christmas. It was like we saw the Harry Potter play. Like that was the main reason we went. It was our honeymoon,
Awesome.
quote unquote. But,
Nice.
but yeah, we did that, and then everything else was kind of just like whatever. We just wanted to see the Harry Potter play. So it was
I
pretty
love
awesome.
the Northeast. There's so much history. There's so much to see. Great beaches, cool people, great food. I mean, it's all very condensed. And but like any chance I get, we go. Missed out last year, but
to put us in your backpack. So
Well,
yeah, yes, next
like
time.
early spring, I'm looking forward to all three of us going up there at least.
Yes,
yeah, potentially for PAX
To
East,
Boston.
yeah.
that's where we flew into Boston. I said to my husband, this is the first time I've been to Boston when it was actually warm. Every time I've gone, it's been snowing or cold, or early spring, late fall. So love Boston. Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, and I wanted to tell you guys, I sent this to everybody earlier, and unfortunately, let me just preface this with the deadline has passed for applying, but
That's really
McCormick, the spice company, put out an ad for the director of taco relations, which was, I thought, right up Brian's alley.
Oh,
right
so
up
are you
Lisa's
saying
alley.
Brian's
Yeah,
title?
right?
That's Brian's title.
That
as far as I know.
I thought
Pretty
it should
much.
be, yeah, because he's our taco guru.
I am the CTO, the chief taco officer.
Chief taco officer.
He is.
So
man.
the job
You guys only
description responsibilities were hysterical. I mean, it was a lot, kind of tongue in cheek, but I mean, they're looking for somebody specific, somebody who will troll TikTok to keep tabs on taco trends.
When you say troll, like just like actually
Go through it.
Literally
use it.
says-
not make fun of
Okay.
them.
Yeah,
Responsibilities. And you can. This is still up on McCormick's
I think-
website.
I think trawl, like
Oh, Charlie, yes.
I think
Sorry.
that would probably be a more accurate description.
Have I had a little to drink? Yeah.
I'm not looking at the article. I don't know what it says.
Trolling TikTok. No, don't troll TikTok.
Yeah, troll TikTok.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, but trolling is like that's where the thing is
Yeah.
for like you're trolling the waters.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Sorry,
like
guys.
when you're doing a brand Twitter account. You know,
Yes,
you do a little light
You
trolling
troll
because
TikTok.
You get paid to look
Yeah.
at TikTok all day.
Forgive me. You need to ensure tacos aren't just eaten on Tuesdays. So, but also develop content, including videos specifically for Taco Tuesday. And also debate ultimate conversational taco topics, such as soft or hard shell tacos, which
So-
do you guys prefer?
that's amateur. That's amateur hour.
So you're just
That's
supposed
like
to look at
that's like should the ground beef be seasoned or not?
Yeah.
That,
So-
now that's a deep topic.
like you're
That's
just basically looking for conversations people are having, and you just pop in as the McCormick director of taco relations and
No.
just be like, by the way, just want to let you know.
Yeah.
Plus,
No, a
the
little more
seasoned
in-depth.
meat part fits along with the actual company too.
Yeah. A lot of seasoned meat. That's what she said.
Whoa.
So part of it is you.
Oh,
Thank
damn it.
you. Drink. Developing videos, developing new spice blends, stuff like that. Visiting places, eating their tacos. It looked like a really cool job application. So yeah.
Sorry, Brian. The only bad part is it's already closed.
Yeah.
So if you didn't apply,
no, I know.
yeah,
I did not apply.
that's unfortunate.
I mean, it very much looked like it was going to be a social media director type thing, and I'm just not cut out for that because I'm truly not that engaging or very funny.
Well, I'm apparently trolling TikTok, so
I've got the going everywhere and eating everybody's tacos thing down pat, but
you could maybe apply for like
you can take the puns several different ways there for that as well and still be accurate.
You could apply for like a mascot or something.
There you go.
Like
oh my
Taco
god,
Tuesday.
you could be
Like
Taco Tuesday.
I knew people who had actually done some of the entertainment the talent work, I think was what they called it, where they dressed up in the large costumes. Like I think my friend was Beast in the Beauty and the because that's Disney. This was I forgot what role he played, but Jiminy Crickets, do they sweat?
Oh god,
That'd be Pinocchio.
Besides the fact that like
billion
summer
degrees.
summer in Florida, and this is like old timey stuff that I'm talking about, where they barely even had fans in them, and like nowadays they actually have some technology in those suits, but still,
yes.
As Mike so eloquently put it recently, it's hot as balls in his room.
It is pretty hot. You guys don't see what's below this half if you're watching the video. So.
Thank God.
There's nothing. There's nothing. We know you're not wearing anything.
There's literally nothing. It's just like it goes into like abyss. It's just a black hole at this point below.
He's wearing nothing, and there is nothing.
Yeah. So.
Wah, wah.
Now, if I open up an OnlyFans,
Gotta go look at his wife's purse.
Oh wow.
Oh man.
So
we went there.
You know, it's fun that we kind of made light of this early stuff, but we are going to get into a topic that's a little more serious to start this one off. And it's something that this isn't something that like we'd like to typically cover, but it is obviously into the area that we do cover, and it is something that is touching and very important to talk about. So we decided to bring it up.
So topping out the news pretty much everywhere right now is the suit that the actual government of California has brought against Activision Blizzard. And it's a government agency that literally is put in place to protect people. It's the Department of Fair Employment and Housing. So it not only covers employment side, but it also covers housing for rental and other items associated with that. And they have concluded a 2+ year investigation of Activision Blizzard and found that the workplace is downright hostile to basically women and minorities. Yeah. And it's something where they released this massive, well, I say massive, it's actually only a 29-page
dossier.
I'd say brief of notice of going to the Superior Court of California, just notice of this class action suit. I believe it's class action. Don't correct me there. It could be a little bit wrong on that. But Civil Rights and Equal Pay Act complaint and injunctive monetary relief for damages. And it's just 29 pages of describing why they're bringing this to court. And it's eye-opening for someone who is, I'm a fan of Blizzard products. I mean, they make some good products. We've talked about it before where they very much believe in, polishing something. They'll take ideas that other companies have and they'll make them more accessible to everybody. We talked about that in recent weeks when we were talking about, for instance, Magic the Gathering and then becoming Hearthstone. Right.
And then becoming Magic the Gathering.
I mean, but even that, is just not to the level that Hearthstone is, because they made it so accessible and they polished it up so much. And while they have this outward appearance of, a deep love of gaming, which is clear, and professionalism, inwardly they definitely do not appear, because this is going to court. We'll see where some of these facts come out, but they don't appear to have professionalism. And just what was in this complaint was
bad.
Well, one, sickening.
Yeah.
Sickening. And two, just wide ranging things like, and I'm quoting several things across The Verge, Kotaku, directly from the document itself. Some of these I'm reading directly from the document that was filed in Superior Court of California. So I just want to give credit where it's due for all those publications that did excellent reporting on this. There are women who got continually passed over for jobs where their male counterparts who started months after them got promoted in a year.
That's not
when
just at
the
Blizzard,
women
though.
were.
That's for sure.
You're right. It's not just at Blizzard, but.
No, I know. I'm just saying, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Where the women were, doing more than the men, and they didn't get promoted until 3 years in compared to 1 year in.
Jeez.
And I'm starting with that so that we can show the depths here, how bad this is, because that's one thing. Women of color were asking for time off, and their manager asked them to submit a 1-page summary of what they were going to do for their time off.
That to me was outrageous. You should, as a manager, unless there's just no way for anybody to take the time off, you just approve the time off. I would, and it's also none of my business. Yeah. Why you're taking your time off.
Even with people that have
Kelly.
been hospital related, I had employees that did that, and it was, even with that, I didn't care. I didn't care to see hospital notes or anything. But it was, if you got to take off, you got to take off. But once it starts getting to the point where you don't have the time off, then I have to get other departments involved. But that's still not my concern. My point is,
Several female employees were also not promoted due to the defendants, which is Activision Blizzard, discriminatory practices against pregnant female employees. A female employee, this is directly from the documentation served. A female employee working on one game team had assumed some of the responsibilities of a manager, but when she asked her male supervisor about being fairly paid for the work that she was actually doing and promoted into the position, the manager commented that they could not risk promoting her as she might get pregnant and might like being a mom.
Oh my God.
I don't see anything wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with that, right? What? Jeez, who thought that? Who would be?
Oh.
What's crazy is that someone that guy said that, but didn't even think twice about it because of what was going on in the company already. That's what's wild.
And it went to further sexual harassment, not just discrimination, but harassment, where there was a common thing of cube crawls, which gives bar crawling a bad name because male employees would drink copious amounts of alcohol, crawl around the ground, and be sexually inappropriate to women who are trying to work in their cubes.
Ridiculous.
And if that wasn't enough, they actually included into it where a woman who was on a trip, a business trip, and her manager had come along, and she apparently on this business trip actually committed suicide. And it was alleged that it was partially due to her manager showing up on this trip with sexual toys and lubricant. So it's
Work
Oh
trip.
my gosh.
it
work
runs
trip.
as you can yeah. It just doesn't make sense. It's like it's just ridiculous the depths that is involved here, and it's
And if this is all coming out clearly, the women did not feel like they could come
anything.
to other departments that are supposed to be
Yes.
preventing this sort of thing. Other
they
departments
actually
who-
cover that.
yeah.
They actually cover the fact that not only did the women in HR not get promotions as well, so they couldn't do as much about it,
gosh.
but most of the men in HR apparently were close associates with the people that had done some of these things. One gentleman,
Protection.
one manager was so known for it that his office was known as, and it looks like they typoed in the document, they said the Bill Crosby instead of Bill Cosby office. And they actually say, apparently referring to the Bill Crosby alleged rapist, again, typo there in the document. And they call out in this the distrust of HR.
Yeah.
And the very interesting thing was Blizzard Activision did a lengthy statement calling that the DFEH's suit was irresponsible behavior from unaccountable state bureaucrats. They're not unaccountable. They're part of a division that's their job to do these things. So that's interesting. But it's interesting. This statement, they say a lot of things. They say the DFEH includes distorted, in many cases, false descriptions of Blizzard's past. We've been extremely cooperative with the DFEH throughout their investigation, including providing them extensive data and ample documentation. But they refuse to inform us what issues they perceived. Which is interesting because there's clear documentation in in what was filed to the court where they had gone to them specifically about these items and had talked about mediation and taking care of this, and that was rebuffed and refused. So they have clear documentation where they were tried to work with them before coming to this. They don't jump to a case in the Superior Court.
Yeah.
They do a number of things before that. And they flat out say it in this document. And now again, one of the things to temper all this is you can say a whole bunch that you want to in the document, and we have seen this in court cases that were, say, near the beginning of the year, quite quickly filed with a whole bunch of claims in them. But when it came to actually being in court and under oath and present it and whatever the equivalent is for the lawyers, how they have to tell the truth at certain times, that they didn't back those claims up. So, take this with at least a small grain of salt that we have to wait until it actually is in court to get more information on it.
Some of it
Everybody's
might change,
innocent
but
until proven guilty. I agree, but I mean, a lot of these accusations are pretty serious, and
and
like you said, typically you don't go from 0 to 60 or 0 to 120, without something. So,
well,
it was weird that they kept saying that this is in the past. This is in the past. They kept saying Blizzard workforce. They're not Blizzard. They're Activision Blizzard. It seems like they're trying to blame this on the old company, which, by the way, was purchased a bit more than 2 years ago, a lot more than 2 years ago. So that's kind of interesting. And also, since they made that statement, there have been multiple people that have come out and said, no, it's happening and it's still happening. It's happening right now. Not a thing in the past, and it's different now.
Well, I mean, but they were in, like, Activision Blizzard was in the news, last year? We were seeing about protests and stuff, and it was like, you know, there were things going on that the employees didn't like, and they voiced their opinion, and then they got backlash, and it was like, and here we are now, a year later, and now we're hearing even worse things that we didn't know about that are starting to roll out. So, I mean, it's unfortunate. We're going to hear, obviously, like you said, we're going to hear some things that are, you know, going to come out in the wash and essentially probably don't have any evidence to back it up, which could be true, could be false, but it's just there's no evidence. But then we're also most likely going to see other people stepping up and saying, you know what, like, I want to say something because, you know what, I also experienced some things that I have evidence for or whatever. So,
yeah,
it's unfortunate.
It is. It's 2021, man. You know?
Yeah, and that's a PSA to anybody, any companies you work at. If you have issues with anybody in your office, boss, management, whatever, like, say something to somebody. And if that's not working, then get another job. Like, it's not worth dealing with that kind of stuff. Like,
it'll be their
really
loss.
not.
It'll be their loss, you know?
And speak up, you know, like, if they don't take care of it internally, speak up externally now too, because it matters now. And
it does matter, but there is also backlash. As
certain
a
states
woman,
too.
Yeah.
That's the
as
thing.
a woman, I would be afraid. I've been put in some situations, but thankfully nothing as bad as this. You know, nothing. I've been very lucky. But there have been other social situations in a social situation that's not, you know, social as in like friends or, you know, at a bar, you know, that I have zero control over and have felt very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But so there's only so much you can do. But you also, like, a lot of these whistleblowers, they get thrown under the bus. Immediately, it's
I mean, look at the
backlash.
ultimate whistleblower, Edward Snowden, who's not even in the U.S. because, like, they wanted to arrest him and throw him into a hole somewhere. Like, it's literally that. Like, he tried to do a good thing, and then it was like, oh God, like, I'm going to lose my life. Let's get out of here. Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean that one is a little bit different, and some of the stuff he did was not the best.
True,
but I mean, really, I mean, to talk about more to the topic is looking back at Gamergate, where you just had these people dogpiling on this poor woman who was just trying to point some stuff out in the industry, and you know, many people ended up literally moving because of that.
Yeah.
Moving from where they lived because of that. And to me, it was shocking that this got to this level just because, you know, Gamergate, as negative as it was at the time, it turned the tides where it was a lot less of the whistleblowers getting persecuted. There was a lot more women coming out. You know, I think it was the Me Too movement as well. There were a lot of movements that came out on the social media where, you know, women and people that were getting discriminated against were being heard and not being victimized, or at least not being victimized as much as they used to.
Yeah.
And that was such a positive thing to see. And it just goes to show you, as good as that was, as positive movement as that was, it's still this bad. I cannot even understand how anyone would do this in a workplace at all. It boggles my mind that they had social functions where a man was doing such inappropriate things that other employees had to drag him off of women.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like
this sounds like something
At
out
what point, like, I mean, what was he, a freaking brain surgeon, like saving lives? No, he wasn't, and he was still protected. You know,
I mean, even if he's a brain surgeon, it's protected. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. So, but
I mean,
I do want to
literally
say,
sounds like the 90s.
Yeah, it really does.
This sounds like total like Wolf of Wall Street level, like 90s crap. that you just don't expect today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well-
as a woman in an IT industry that is mostly men, I will say that I think that the vast majority of men I work with are very respectful. We can joke around. I've never felt uncomfortable. And if I did, I also wouldn't feel worried about speaking up. I think that my opinion would be heard and respected. I don't know that I may or may not be in the minority there as well. But I think that it is a testimony to the times. They are changing, and that people are learning. People are much more respectful, and it's not just women in the workplace. But being LBTGQ a whatever plus all of it.
Yes.
I think that everybody is much more respectful. We can be friends. We can be coworkers. But we ultimately respect each other, and we respect each other's opinions and each other's boundaries.
Yep. And it's not just that too; it's also minorities too. Don't count me out.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Trust me. Like
absolutely,
growing up has been weird, but just in the workplace, I don't really feel that as much. I mean, there's a couple people in my past, not necessarily the job I work at now, but just. They say racist things, not really realizing it's kind of racist, and they just kind of assume that I would just be okay. And the way I am just like I let things roll. It's whatever. But it's like that's not cool. You shouldn't be saying things like that in public. Like you shouldn't say them anyway, but you shouldn't say that to people that you work with. Like that's not cool. Like it's not a thing to joke with.
Yeah, and sad as it is, I think the things that people are doing that are racist is still behind times wise compared to the things that people are doing sexual harassment wise. Other than this, and there was also riot, and yes, I know it exists elsewhere, but it really seems like it has been getting better in that people are like, we're getting rid of the people that are doing this as much as possible, punishing them, moving them out of jobs, stuff like that. It just seems further along for the sexual harassment than it does the racism. The racism seems to be like going by. I was watching a video the other day where some lady was yelling at a guy being an illegal and that he looks like he, doesn't belong here and he should go back to Mexico. And somebody called her out and being racist. She goes, "I'm not racist. My dad's black."
Oh my God.
I was like, that's
nothing.
What? Are you that much of a
doesn't
moron?
have anything to do with the other. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, so chat made a good point. Don't forget the American Disability Act too. People who have disabilities for whatever work thing too, and that's a good point because that is another one that we tend to not necessarily forget about, but it doesn't come up as much as the other movements. So it's just anything like it boggles my mind, like especially raising a child, right? Because I'm thinking in my head like I walked through a store today and I saw all kinds of different people. And it was just like, like I have things in my head that I think because of the fact that like I've heard it so much like growing up and stuff. And I'm thinking like, I would never want my child to think that. Like I don't even want them to realize there's a difference between that type of person and someone else. Like it's just, but it's something that we've all been instilled because that's how we were around and raised. So it's just
that's
crazy.
what makes you different though. That's where you're making the conscious decision of like, no, this thought and this behavior is incorrect. It's wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to raise my child that way. I'm going to raise my child better.
Yeah.
And that's the start of the change. Because children don't come into this world disliking other people because differences.
Yep.
You can see it all the time. Yep. Small kids, they don't give a shit. They just want to play with each other. They don't care.
Yeah.
My son waves at every single person he can wave at. If you look at him and give him attention, he is down to wave at you and say hello.
Right.
My girls, they when we go to a park, we drive past a park, they go, "Mom, look at all of those friends there." And I'm like,
Yep.
yes, but we got to go home and drop off our groceries. You know, they
I have ice
look
cream in the back. It cannot melt.
Yeah. If you want to have dinner tonight, we should probably get this chicken in the fridge, you know? So I love their optimism and fresh perspective. It's beautiful being a child. And I don't want to tarnish that, you know? My kids, we live in a very culturally diverse, socioeconomically diverse, you know, racially diverse neighborhood. And never once have my kids talked about somebody's skin tone. We've never talked about somebody's skin tone. So
Exactly.
I want to keep that as precious as it is for as long as I can to just ingrain that in them. It doesn't matter. They talk about, you know, boys and girls, you know, girls can't marry girls. And I was like, yeah, they can. And the other day they said, oh, our friend at school has 2 moms. It was like, awesome.
There you go.
I grew up with friends who had 2 dads. And so it's like you keep reiterating, and eventually, you know, it's not going to be a non-issue. Or
It's funny.
It'll be an issue somewhere else, and they'll be able to tackle that issue because they've had that education. And then
What's funny is, like, my son today, we were at a waiting place, like a waiting room, and there was a kid area, and he goes in there, and all these toys, they had all kinds of different toys, boys and girls and whatever. He literally went over and grabbed the shopping cart and the girl Barbie, like, bug, and all. That's what he wanted to play with. And we were like, okay.
Yeah.
play with it.
That's what he wants to play with. All right,
Now-
cool. I don't care.
No.
I like what Surfwax says in chat. They said, I feel like the big part of the conversation starts to gravitate towards people calling each other overly sensitive or calloused. And it just never gets anywhere. People need to see that all these social issues as a living issue, not just we're always done it this way and we're going to keep doing it this way type issue. And I agree with that, because you see it on the internet. You're like, oh, they're a social justice warrior, you know, SJWs, or, you know, or simps, or, you know, like they, I gotta have to bleep that out, aren't I?
Yeah, we're gonna get taken down.
They have all these terms for people that like stand up for other people, or like interject or say that this is wrong. And it's just another thing, another task of dehumanizing the other person, because the more you dehumanize them, because that's what it is, then when you don't see him as another fellow human being, then you don't care about how you treat him.
Yeah. It's interesting because, you know, there's, I think something even later kind of relates, but like even like people have talked about like this was a story we didn't actually talk about a few weeks ago. And I'm just going to lightly touch on it because I don't want to cover the story. It's a whole different story. But the idea was that there was a new FPS game that was coming out in the Middle East. And they had the reveal, and like all of the journalists afterwards were like, wow, this game just, all I really feel about this new game is that I hate Middle Eastern people and that I want to kill them. And it was like I don't really understand. Other than that was the only goal they really got out of the game. And they were just saying, like, because of the military, it's like the way they tried to make this such like a military sim that like the way that most people have described, like, and I'm not talking about just the US, I'm talking about other, you know, it could be any military. I'm not just saying specifically, but it's like about not looking at the person that you're going to attempt to go after as a human being. You desensitize them, excuse me, to get them to the point where they're just like an animal. Like you have to just get rid of the animal, and like you just have to do that.
Yeah, they call them targets.
So,
or
targets, or something else. Right,
and
bad guys. And
yeah.
And it's just all of that kind of stuff just gets kind of wild, and to the point where it does seem it's a normal thing for the people you're around, because that's what you're just having to do. So yeah, it's wild.
And you know, just to kind of start towards wrapping it up, I in no way, shape, or form believe this is just Activision Blizzard.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Ubisoft has had problems. Riot has been in the news with problems, and I'm sure it is in other studios as well. I mean, technology, unfortunately, has been kind of a male-dominated place.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just I would really, I have seen so many smart women. There was this wonderful woman that had gone before the court in the recent hearings for the right for repair. And she had started, building Pentiums in her dad's shop. And she basically became an ethical hacker and worked. She's been a Linux administrator for years and years and years, and a highly technical person. And she goes, I can tell you that replacing a screen or replacing a battery is in no way, shape, or form going to make the encryption of these phones decryptable or vulnerable. And she was so confident and smart, and I would love to see more like her in these industries at all levels. Mm-hmm. And I'm just hoping that this is going to wake a couple of people up, and we at least as a group start making some changes.
Yep.
Speaking of changes. All right, so that was a pretty heavy one, and I'll say, and we don't do this a lot. We don't typically try to bring up things. There's certain topics. There's certain topics that we do get passionate about, and things, especially when it comes to the gaming industry and just in people's rights in general. That we've talked about a couple things in the past, especially during some other things in the past. But it's not every day, but it is things that we do need to voice our opinion on, because it is there are things that have to be said. So
yeah.
All right.
So
go ahead and take that one.
I guess a little mental mouthwash before we go on to the
mental mouthwash.
break.
I like that.
And not to imply that we're washing away. Just
no, and also thank you guys for listening to us and for chat being part of the conversation too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So,
thanks, chat. They've been a couple. We haven't said everything. One of the great ones was document everything that was said out there, and there were other great comments as well. And we appreciate all of them. We appreciate. Again, we've said it before. We do this because it's fun to do the podcast, but we also do it for you, the listener. And if we can start a conversation like this, then that makes us so happy. And really proud of what we're doing, because even if it's just a small number of people, it's important to us.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, just kind of changing gears and talking about other types of things. This last week, right around the time that we'd normally do the podcast, in fact, and through the weekend, last weekend, was PAX Online and D&D Live. And I virtually attended. They were both virtual events. D&D Live has been a virtual event since 2016, I think. It's been quite a while for them.
And when he puts the air quotes up and says he attended, he literally took off work to watch this online.
Yes.
I did. And what I found is I actually participated less than I did last year. They still had the Discord server up, and the Discord server was even better than last year.
That's awesome.
They had a lot of interactivity in it, a lot of the games with the bots where you could look around and like last year they had like this little D&D game on the tabletop area, and they still had that. And I don't know if it's because of fatigue from the things that are happening outside of that, or any other number of fatigue from COVID or what have you. I just didn't participate in much as I thought I would. And also at the same time, it was smaller. And I don't mean it was like last year they combined basically PAX Australia and PAX West.
Right.
And because they were able to do both hemispheres, they were able to do 24 hours a day for 9 days. It was massive.
It was super
crazy.
It was so fun.
It was crazy. And even with that, it wasn't quite really 24 hours. There were chunks where they had rebroadcast stuff. That was fine. And they had some stuff where they just didn't have very much for a couple of hours. But with that said, this year's was 4 days. It was not 24 hours. It was about noon Eastern till about 10 p.m. Eastern. So it was about 10 hours a day. And no, I didn't expect it to be as big at all. I mean, you're going to have some drop off. They weren't combining it with Australia, so of course it was going to be smaller there. I wasn't expecting it to be as large. but it was actually even smaller just for the hours that they had it. They had less panels for that 10-hour stretch, much less panels. And again, I expected it to be smaller a little bit just because like some of the big gaming companies, they're going to pull back more. They're doing their own thing. They're broadcasting out, their clubhouses and their directs and, all that stuff. Yeah. So, that naturally is going to pull away from it. And it is going to be more the panels of the people. Now, the panels I caught, I loved. They had the normal, they always have panels, diversity. They have great diversity panels, both between gender identification to, just minorities in different aspects. And they really have these great fun diversity panels that you learn a lot as well. And yes, panels for those that have different disabilities as well. They almost always have panels along those lines. And I'm not just talking about physical disabilities. Some of it is, they have a great thing called the timeout room, the AFK room, which was, for just if things are getting too much for people at the physical convention, they had a room that you could go to that was just quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, we've seen actually, we were talking about that recently at the zoo because they have one there. And then for if you have a child with like autism or something where it's like getting too much and you want to just go into a room and just calm down, like you can do that. And those are really neat that we see that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And all those panels were there and as what I expected, and which was good because, it gives different perspectives. You get to learn more, like I said. And they did have some of the other panels, not as many developer panels. There was definitely a decrease in the number of developer panels. Still had them, just less. Had great panel that had was all about these grandmothers in gaming.
Grandmothers in gaming, that's awesome.
Oh, they streamed. They were streaming grandmothers and that gamed and just it was grandmothers. It was an all woman panel, and like the age range was just amazing because I think one of the grandmothers, I'm not from the South, so like in the South you can have somebody who's 30 years old and be a grandmother. But I saw this woman and I just like didn't think of her as a grandmother because she looked like she was like maybe mid to late 40s, all the way up to one woman, Shirley, I believe was her name. And she looked like she was, no joke, like late 80s to early 90s. And she had just the best response to one of the questions because they were talking about like when you play a game, do you typically play like a male or female or other gendered character? And she goes, oh, yeah, Shirley piped up and she goes, I used to play female characters. But, recently, definitely in the last couple of years, I've been finding myself playing male characters. She goes, especially in Skyrim, awesome. Especially now that they have the gray hair. So I just make this gentleman with the nice gray hair and the gray beard. Nice. And then I give him a really muscular physique. And I don't let him wear the armor. I just do the bandolier thing that goes across.
I love it.
That's awesome.
It was great. And the other grandmas are like, they're like, you absolutely. We are not dead. We still like sexualization of our characters.
That's awesome. God, I have to go back and see if we can find that. I would love to watch that.
Yeah. And there was another great panel that had pointed out to Mike's wife because she likes the paranormal, and it was talking about horror games.
That's a touchy one because she gave me her review on that and she wasn't very pleased.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's
the idea was it was about writers. It was supposed to be a panel of writers talking about if they were locked into an asylum and they were going to write like a story, is what it seemed like. Like they were going to like kind of talk about this out loud or whatever. Unfortunately, the panel got very racial, I guess you could think. So they didn't keep to the just the story. It's a writing thing. They went into like some of like the panel, like some of the like, so like, you know, obviously in horror films and stuff, like it's always like, you know, the black person gets killed first, like, you know, the tropes, right? So they kind of took that, but then they really went left field with it, like really talking about how like that was the whole purpose, which is not, I'm not saying you shouldn't talk about it. I think it was a different panel for that. Like that, there literally could have been a panel about the tropes in movies, and the two people on the panel were like really just trying to nail that in. And the guys were just kind of like, okay, can we move on? Like talking about this, but they really just kept. I don't know. So it was unfortunate for her. She didn't get to tell you the story yet, but that was one of the things she's going to tell you. But yeah, it was like a good idea. Unfortunately, had some people that kind of tried to sway it, but still cool. And
it ended up that D&D typically has a fairly decent sized presence in PAX, and they kind of cheated between the two this time. That when D&D was going on live for their stream over 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, they basically broadcasted on the PAX channels as well. And which makes sense because, you know, they get included in it. That makes sense. What didn't make sense is that they didn't seem to be hosting the other Twitch channel. It literally looked like they broadcast the feed to PAX and then PAX broadcast it out. Like there was legitimately a reduction in quality.
Like a window in window.
It
so they were doing like
a
what we're
copy
doing.
of a copy.
Yeah.
Worse.
So yeah, worse than us.
So yeah, that was, and even ours is on purpose. I mean, like we're not broadcasting ours out and broadcasting it to you. We're sending our video to you so you can broadcast it out.
Yeah, which is
so yeah, it was very interesting. But the D&D live was a fun broadcast. They were introducing their new products that they're going to be releasing over the next year. There were some fun products. They got a book coming out that is dragon centric. It is all like not just a book of like, here's all the dragons you could throw at people. No, it's like, where do dragon eggs come from? Because they don't have to come from other dragons. They could be like coalesce out of the ether.
That's when the mommy dragon and the daddy dragon.
When they love each other very much. Or the mommy dragon, or the daddy dragon and the daddy dragon. Yeah.
Yeah. I know where dragon eggs come from.
They literally said, like, it could be that dwarves mine them out of the ground. And, like, so they had all these different sources of, like, where these eggs could come from. And dragons being such powerful beings that they have echoes across the different, the different material planes, the different parallel universes, as it were. And they didn't even just, of course, they're going to have new dragons in it, but they didn't include just dragons. They include a giant mimic. A giant mimic that mimics
a dragon.
That mimics a dragon horde. Pile of dragon gold.
Wow, that's awesome.
So yeah, and they introduce a whole bunch of like different background and lore and all this stuff, just about everything that you could want to know about dragons for adding them into your campaign. So that was really cool. And in continuing that dragon theme, one of the things that they did during this stream was down in the lower left-hand corner was this little baby blue dragon.
No.
And the baby blue dragon grew up and went through levels as everybody donated to one of 3 charities.
That is 3 charities, so cool.
And they gamified it because all 3 charities were charities that supported kids.
Sweet.
It was Connor's Cure, I think, was the one I donated to, which was for cancer. And then and on the other side, the right-hand side, was different creatures. And they literally started with Boo, the miniature giant space hamster.
Awesome.
And went and they had like Lady Goo Goo, the swamp hag.
Nice.
And they had all these parody ones and all kinds of different creatures. And the baby dragon was fighting them. And they were rolling and it would miss or hit and take damage. And they had hit points. And then you kept donating, and he kept growing to like a young dragon, an adult dragon.
Oh my God, I love this so much.
And
I'm so sorry I missed it.
Wait, Blue Dragon is evolving.
Exactly. And if at the very end, or near the very end, what they did is Kate Welch, who works for Wizards of the Coast, a person that I've met several times. I've actually sat down, drank with her, and talked with her at length. She used to, I don't know anymore, but she used to actually recognize me at sight. This is the closest that I've coming to like TSR fame. She's got to give me a moment here.
Oh my God.
But she used to recognize me on site at the conventions at PAX. But
So
anyway,
the cashier usually recognizes me at
DM'd
Kroger, but that's not necessarily like.
Yeah. She DM'd a one-off where they had celebrities, including Kevin Smith
Oh, wow. Cool. I
and
love
Jay
Kevin Smith. And Jay.
and Jason. Jay,
What?
yeah.
Wow.
They
you
had
got-
they,
They had Jay and Silent Bob. Ah!
they got
did.
Jay out of like his box. That's crazy.
they had Jack Black.
Oh, that's
Sorry,
cool.
I just got like sake all over my face. Sorry, guys.
Wow, that's what she said.
Okay, hold on. I need to correct
drink's
this.
empty.
Continue while I.
Yeah, Jack Black, among other celebrities. I think Xavier Woods possibly was also there. And they had their level 1 characters that then had to fight the dragon that had leveled up all the way to an ancient blue dragon.
That's fantastic.
Nice.
It's also worth going back and watching that stream just for watching that part of it too, because it's a good example of what D&D can also be. D&D doesn't have to be dice roll after dice roll after dice roll, math, which Mike hates math. It doesn't, like, there are dice rolls.
I wouldn't say I hate math. I think it just hates me.
Well, you're terrible at math. We'll just leave it at that.
That's fair.
And it was very much about the storytelling that she did, the improvisation that they all did. And yeah, they did roll some dice and they did miss or they did hit. But it was so in the background when you watched this, when just when Kevin Smith went off on this thing, and it was just hilarious. It's fun just going to watch that. So my overall review is PAX Online was kind of like, it was like a C+ this year.
Oh,
They could have done better.
Yeah, it's still passing.
There was
Yeah.
there were
It's true.
C's
I'm
make
telling you,
degrees.
the streaming grannies are what kept that grade up, because they were an A. They were a straight A. And D&D Live was, I was thinking D&D Live was a solid B+. There were some things that weren't so great. They had some camera operators that I don't know if they were like some Novo type way of like cinematography that they were trying that they think is like the new thing. But the camera, like every time that it was focusing on somebody, was just doing this weird, like, Mike, I'm serious when I say your wife might have gotten seasickness watching this stream, because it just kept doing this weird bob thing. And I don't know why. It was like multiple people on chat, since it was on Twitch, were just commenting on it. The cinematography was not fantastic.
They should have got
But,
the stop
I
sign
think-
guy to just film it.
Yeah,
It just stayed still.
G4 hosted it. G4 hosted it. I think they did a pretty good job. Anna Prosser Robertson, another person that I met, former Miss Oregon, I think. But she unfortunately had something with her voice that really messed her up, and she could not host it. So it was the first one that she'd missed in many years. But they also had G4 host it, so I don't know, they might have not even asked her this year. I don't know the things behind that. But the host did pretty good, but it was kind of clear they weren't used to hosting stuff like this.
Yeah.
A couple of, like one or two of them were good, and there were other times where they were just kind of floundering a bit. But for the most part, they did good.
Nah.
I think the D&D Live was probably the highlight of that last weekend.
Awesome.
That's really
Well,
cool.
we still have to come. We have Dragon Con, which it's still going to be in person, from what I read, a little bit more than we expected. Some online as well. They're going to try to
We'll see.
They're going to try to hype up more of the online than they did last year, is what I've heard from people that are actually in the panels and stuff, or from the core group. But so we'll see how that goes. And then we still have PAX West, which is also going to that same time frame, which is actually in person as well. So
Which I have tickets to.
Right, you'll be reporting live, literally from the field. So we'll
If they have it. I mean, it all depends on, what keeps going on with, the current Rona economy.
Exactly. So, but yeah, some new things to come up, and we'll cover those obviously when they get here. But until next, well, not until next time, until we get back from the break, hang tight just a few minutes, listen to a word from our sponsor, and then I think another one. So check it out. And we're back. So there was one thing I forgot to mention, one group of people that we didn't call out specifically, and I want to call them out, is the mental health crowd as well. So when we're talking about the Blizzard subject with different types of, minorities and LGBTQ and Americans with Disabilities Act, but like the mental health aspect of that too is also something that people don't really
Absolutely.
handle well. Like people say things and don't realize that people are struggling with different things inside their mind as well, which is also important. So had to call that out. I forgot.
100%.
So but yeah, so we're gonna get into what we've been playing this week, hopefully, if this stuff would work, but it's not, so we'll see how that works.
We'll start off with Kelly.
Okay. So
Good job.
I have not been playing video games because I had really spotty internet and spotty cell service. But I have been playing a game called Spot It with my kids. And we've actually been playing this for a while. So this is not new to the family. But this is a fun game even for adults. So, but if you have kids, definitely pick it up. You can get it at Target, Walmart. Every single one of these cards has a match. Every single one of them in the deck. There's whatever algorithm. I'm going to figure it out. I'm totally going to find out. But so right here, these two cards have cheese on it. So there's a couple of different ways you can play the game. The easiest way if you have kids is put down two cards, have them tell you which match it is, and then hand them both of them. Kid with the most cards wins.
Okay.
But some of them, like, even as an adult, I'm like, it's a key. It's been a lot of fun especially for kids who who can't read yet, or if you just want something quick to play. My kids really love Go Fish lately too, so they ask me all the time, can we play Go Fish? Can we play Go Fish? Because it's just sight cards. But,
I win.
Yeah. But they're not sitting in front of... Yeah. They ask me a lot to play video games. They ask me if they can get on the computer. They ask me if they can watch TV. But they also ask me if they can play this game too. So, and ask me if they can play Go Fish. But this game, I think, even as an adult, like I said, there are a couple of different types of games that you can play with this, and collecting cards and not being first, and a lot of fun. If you need a new drinking game, I'll post the drinking
That
game
reminds me of you guys ever, and it's probably like politically correct, and this is and probably not politically correct. There was a game called Drunk Driver. Did you ever play that?
No.
So it was like your regular deck of cards, but like you would do things. Actually, this was a different game. Actually, I'm not even thinking about that game. I'm thinking about the pyramid game. There's a pyramid game.
Zycia strikes again.
Yeah. No, but Drunk Driver is another one. It's like you have to get through all 4 cards.
I am never talking about drunk driving. Sorry.
It's 4 cards. Drunk Driver's
not doing it.
That one it's basically 4 cards, and you have to. It's like Card Sharks. You ever watch that show back in the 70s from Game? Yeah.
Although I do like the Game Show Network that's on and if you're in the Atlanta area, there is a Game Show Network on. Antenna.
So watch a show. It's a show. It's called Card Sharks, but it's basically like almost like higher or lower. So you put a card, and then you have to guess which the next card is, higher or lower. And then if you get to the end,
I have seen that. Yes.
So that's Card Sharks. So it's a game like that. Okay. But no, there was another one like a pyramid. But the point was like you had to try to get to the top of the pyramid to win. And I can't remember exactly the rules of how to do that. But the point is, when you played that game, typically all you would do is get more drunk, because like you have to keep playing it, and then as you fail you have to start over, and you fail and you start over and you keep failing. So it's like that's what it reminds me of when you say spot it. Like I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, it sounds great at first, and then eventually I'm just gonna be drunk because like I can't see anything.
Yeah.
Sorry, long story to get back to the as I see it, and it's just basically it.
Has anybody on chat played Spot It out of curiosity? I mean, we don't have to wait for that, but
if you have,
I'm telling you, if you don't have it, definitely get it. It's super fun on road trips, at the beach, or wherever, at a restaurant when you're waiting for your food. Spot it. It will take their attention, and you don't have to worry about anything.
That's cool. Better than an iPad. So
yeah. I am a firm believer that the iPad has its place. Consoles have their place. Computers have their place. But it's also easier to just like...
But not at the dinner table.
Yes, yeah.
At least in my world.
Yeah.
So I played...
Heathen.
This was a week. I usually go through droughts where I don't play anything. And then now I actually played like 3 games this week, which is kind of interesting.
Oh,
And 3 because obviously, like, short attention span, I can't stick to one game because it's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to make a point this week to play some other things. And actually, I forgot an honorable mention that I didn't even add on here. So I actually played 4 different games this week. The 4th one, I'll just start at the top, was Knockout City. I haven't played that in a while, but we came back, me and some friends got to play together. So it was cool. They hadn't played it before, so we got to join some matches and lose really hard until we started realizing... strategy's a thing in that game, and you should try to pass the ball and really try to like be good at it. So we got better. It was great. I did find out during that session though that you can actually spin the ball, which I didn't know you could do before. So you can actually throw the ball with a spin, which I didn't know. So I did learning had occurred. I actually learned something from that session, so that was fun. Still really fun. They actually put out a new season, I think, coming out. It came out this week, I think. Potentially
new maps, new modes.
Yeah. It's still free on Xbox Game Pass because of the Epic Play, or EA Play. So if you have that, you can still play it. So check it out. So starting at
which means that it's also on Xbox Game Pass as well.
Yeah, well, it's because of Xbox Game Pass, we have EA Play, and that's what I was referring to. So starting at number 3, I guess, is... so I talked about Game Dev Tycoon. And because I'm a madman and I like to manage people for some reason, I don't know why, it's like something I like to do. I found another. I was like, I want more from this game. I want more. I want to do more. Oh, I found it. I played a game called Game Dev Studio, which is available on Steam. It's a very like 16-bit type of game, like like a Stardew Valley or something to that nature. A little more realistic characters, but it's about the same thing. But the idea behind this one is that not only do you get to build your games, you get to be very specific in what you're building. So the type of platform it's on, you can create your own platform, you can create your own engines, you can like really pick each type of game you're going to have. You can have multiple teams of people working for you. So you have like, I had like one team that was making all my like AAA games, I guess you could say. And then I had like one team that was doing the QAing. And then I had one team that was doing like the expansions. So I was doing all of those different things. And you could add different managers. And it was really sad. I did all these things.
I legit cannot tell the difference between that description and what we played with Game Dev Tycoon.
So
I literally cannot tell the difference.
I
so the
couldn't
difference
either.
is
Yeah.
so the difference is it's more detailed. So there is a lot more checkboxes and things you can do to like research different things. And to the point where, so I had a manager that was running one of my teams, right? And you have like outings and stuff.
But did they have a Nintendo?
They had a different name of something else, but something similar, and they kind of looked the same and everything. But they had, so I had one manager that was with me, and he was like, so anytime I went to put a game out, I have to check the price. Like, the price I was going to put on it, is that worth the price? So he would do my research, and he'd come back to me, hey, boss, I think the game's actually, with what you have in it, with this multiplayer, it's probably going to be worth $4.99 or maybe $9.99 or whatever the game is. And he would do that. He would also run my interviews. So when the game companies or journalists came to us as the company, they would like interview. Like I would let him do all the interviews for me, and it was just like all this really cool stuff. And like you will do all the hiring and based on their skills. And you do. I mean, you approve their time off. You approve if they're like. I mean, literally, it's way too in depth with this stuff. So the good news is, if you're into this game but you don't want to do that, like be the manager, right? There is a setting that you can go to, and you can actually checkbox yes or no if you want to auto approve time off, auto approve raises. Yeah, you have to approve raises too. Auto approve like their outings, so they can do like outings and they go out and do like paintball, and then they learn like skills and stuff. So you can do all this stuff. Oh man, I love this game. So you can like make a platform and all this different stuff, and it was really cool. So anyway, after playing the game for I don't know how many hours I played, but it was like 20 years in the game. The manager comes to me and goes, "Hey, boss, it's been a pleasure, but like I'm gonna have to retire. Like it's been a long time," and like almost a tear in my eye. I'm like, "Oh my god! Like you're the first manager that I hired, and like." Went through all this stuff with me. Like the game, like we're making like $40 million a year now. Like we went from like nothing. And
it'd be funnier. It'd be funnier if instead of retiring, he went out and founded his own studio.
Yeah,
it was your biggest
so
competition.
he was with me like 21.5 years. Like,
listen, you made me write a 1-page paper about what I was going to do with my time off.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was crazy.
Wah.
So I really so if you're into the Game Dev Tycoon and you really want to take that a little bit further and really just like do the micromanaging side of it, along with customizing your games and like all that stuff like that, customizing your games, not customization of your games. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. As like chat says right now, why don't you just get a second job? Yeah, I know. I should just open my own game studio. Oh man, I have produced one game before. It was very bad, but it was great. So I did that.
Hey.
So anyway, that was my third. So second one was a game called. Actually, well, these are just
again. You're bad at math.
These
After
are
third is fourth.
Well, no, I said fourth would be Game Dev, or I said fourth was Knockout City. Then I said third would be Game Dev Studio. Number two, these aren't in order by rank or anything like that. These are just going in the order of I've played them, basically.
And not on OneNote, so we're good.
Yeah. So number two is Nowhere Profit. So I looked on Xbox Game Pass, and I was like, I'm going to play something else. And I looked at this game, and it was like, it's a card game. I'm like, ooh, I've never played really those outside of like Magic the Gathering. So I was like, let me just try it. Let me see it. So what it is a post-apocalyptic style, Mad Max style game. And it starts off, it kind of gives you a little story. And the object is like you need to get from point A to B. And there's all these little points in between that you go through to get to that point. But it's a card game. So what happens is your typical card game battle, when you go into battle, is like your main character has so many hit points, like your leader, and then you have your cards on the field that you play against your other cards, and they all have like abilities to do different things. So that part of it is very standard as far as a card game is concerned. But what was neat about it is that going from point A to point B kind of thing, there was, if you've played games like Dead of Winter, where there's like, the world is dying around you and you really have to like, you can't trust people kind of thing. So you get to certain points and it's like, you see a bandit robbing some people. Do you step in and like fight them, or do you just like move on with your day, or do you just tell them to stop, leave them alone? So you can make those decisions, or you may go up and like, you might find like two people on the side of the road that are like with you, that they want to like join you. Do you bring them in or do you not? Because there are resources you have to have to continue progressing through this journey. So you have to have food, you have to have like a couple other things. So it's a matter of like, do you want to bring them in? Like, do you have the resources to do that? But the ultimate thing too, though, is that when your leader dies, you lose the game. Game is over. So anytime you fight and your leader actually gets down to 0 hit points, then you are dead. Like you're done. But your individual cards are like people too. And they can get knocked out, I guess you could say, is the first one. They get a strike through them. And then after that, if they die again on the battlefield, they die completely. They're removed from your deck.
Oh.
So at the same time, like, you want to save your cards, but at the same time, you definitely want to win, because if you lose, you die, and that's game over, and you start all the way over. Like, there is no like pick it back up. So it was a pretty neat thing. It's kind of like a neat art style. Yeah, with it. I'm like talking. I'm like forgetting what I'm saying. It's weird. I stroke. Am I okay?
So everyday normalcy for you.
But it was a really cool game. If you're into card games and want something a little different, I would check that one out. It's called Nowhere Profits, free on Xbox Game Pass. I don't know where it's at other than that. I would probably expect like $15 or something, maybe.
Number 1.
Again, not number 1 in the sense of like number 1. So I started playing this game 2 nights ago. It's called Last Stop. And Last Stop, it's described as like a neat journey between 3 different people, how their lives intersect and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I'll try it. And it has been pretty interesting so far. It's more one of those games that's like a movie where you kind of just like watch it play. Like, you kind of interact with it, and it's like, pour the coffee cup and you do left to right on your analog stick, and the copy, whatever. Like little stuff like that. I'm like, I wish they would just take out of the game. Like, I don't care to do that. Just hit the A button and he does it or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty neat, intriguing story so far. It's like, I don't want to get spoilers away if you want to check it out, but there's 3 characters you play from. Something happens in the beginning where you're like, don't really know what's going on, but you see something happen, and then you start these characters on these, like, the journey of these 3 characters, and you can make decisions, kind of like a Telltale game, where you get to like actually, respond on what you want to answer certain things. I don't know how much of that affects the story, so I don't know if like if I pressed A, does that dialogue mean anything later or whatever, but I guess I'll find out. And it kind of like all 3 of the stories are different in the sense of like one guy is a single dad, from what you can tell, and is has like heart problems apparently. Like, you see like there's mail he gets, it's like from the heart hospital or whatever, and like the kid says something about it, and like they don't eat fried food, and so there's like that aspect of it, and he just wants to take care of his daughter, like goes to take her to school, and then like, but his job sucks. Like, his boss is just completely a piece of crap. Maybe he works at Blizzard, I don't know. So then the second story is a lady. Like, you start off
Blizzard. I don't know.
So the second guy is, or a second lady, she's basically works at like some like undercover robot facility that's almost like government related or something. Super smart, super like top security clearance kind of thing. But you find out she has a behind the door kind of like off the radar kind of thing that she does, and then goes home to her family, like her husband and kid. And it's like, oh, well, that's interesting, and then the third one is actually a kid, like a teenager, and she's like just wanting to hang out with her friends, and like she has an interesting family, and she just goes out and does all these. So it's like you're going through like 3 separate type of stories, and eventually they're all going to lead up together. But what you do see is like the picking of each person is in a menu where like they're all on a train together, and they're all sitting next to each other because they don't obviously know each other. And then what I have seen is playing on the lady's story. I was walking down a road at one point, and I actually saw the first character sitting on like the bus bench, and I couldn't interact with them. But like I was walking by and I was like, oh wait, that was actually my other guy. So like, it's a pretty neat story so far. Like I said, it's more of like a movie, like a rolling movie. Not really. There are some interactions, but you're not really doing a whole lot. It's really like a cinematic that you're kind of watching and doing things with. But so far, so good. I'm definitely intrigued to continue and finish it. And especially with the choice of like things you can say is pretty neat. Because some are like, don't say anything. This one's like, nah, like F it. Say what you want to say. And the other one's like, make a joke about it. And it's like, well, what do you want to do? Like, and I'm like, make a joke about it, like whatever. So anyway, that's what I've been playing this week. Did you have anything, Phoenix?
Nope, nothing for me.
Damn, that's whack.
I think you covered.
I covered everybody.
Yeah.
I know.
Bruno's not here. We're good.
Zeiss's top 5 to countdown.
Type
This
4,
week.
5 countdown. All right, so I guess we'll get into our short news.
I don't know what a newscaster jig looks like, so I'll work on it for next time for those of
Looking
you who
straight
are
at the camera, straight, slight smile.
This just in.
Maybe
This
that'll be-
just in. 35 people died as
This just in. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So mine, everybody's gonna already have to drink because I'm gonna go 2 minutes over. Cheers.
Yep.
So one of the executives from Google decided that they were going to move to New Zealand, not retiring, just moving out of the country, seeing how they want to do for like a year or so. This happened right before they implemented a policy about Google's policy about working from home has been very divisive and also unclear. Thank you. They've implemented pay cuts if you're going to move to different places. Pay cuts are involved. But like I said, this all happened after this executive moved to New Zealand. So it's not clear whether this executive is taking a pay cut. It's not clear whether this executive is going to have to travel a lot. This executive did say that they were going to work from home. And since they were already an early riser, they were going to work the same schedule. I have mixed feelings. I also have a very good friend who has worked from home for several different companies in several different states. And so I reached out to him for his opinion on this. So Google has said, if you're going to move to a different place, you would need to take a pay cut. Asked him about that. He said, you know what? If I'm going to move to a different place and I'm going to make a lot more money and I'm going to be investing that money in this city, that actually will build up the city. But also, my opinion, his opinion as well, as far as pay cuts are concerned, I'm not asking you to move to a different place. And that's your choice. So that has been a big shakeup with Google as far as this article is concerned. I like I said, I do have a lot of mixed feelings about this, and I think that with hopefully post-pandemic, I think a lot of us have a lot of different feelings about this. If you do move someplace else, what is fair? Other companies, I think Reddit said, we're going to pay New York City and LA salaries, regardless of where you live.
Right.
You can live wherever
And
you
I
want,
guess
and we're going to do that.
if they were upfront about it, because that's the thing is most companies based on the state, like because of taxes and all that stuff, they pay a certain amount. So like if I moved to California, got a job and decided to move back to, because cost of living, and I moved back to the middle of like South Carolina or something, like in the middle of nowhere, like, then I wouldn't expect to get paid the same. So if they were saying that up front, like, doesn't matter where you're from, pay the same, where you live, don't care, then that's one thing. But that's also going to adjust the salary for every position across the board on any state. So
and the other side of it too is from the company side, it's not easy. And I'm not talking about Google here. For Google, yes, this would be easy. But certainly smaller companies, it's not easy that they can just allow anyone from work from any state, because if you live in that state, they have to have payroll that's set up for that state. They have to be able to pay taxes to that state if that state does taxes. Some states don't. Florida is one of them. And they have different laws in that state that may apply for employment. That are different from the laws that they're in right there. So there's a lot of overhead for smaller companies.
Absolutely, yeah. For a smaller company, especially not Google.
Yeah, a small company like Google.
Google's
not Google.
Figured out.
Not Google.
Yeah.
By the way, we're 3 minutes and 15 seconds over, so that's 3 drinks.
Whatever.
3 times?
Only 2 times. You already drank once.
Sorry, guys.
That's okay. Well, up next, we have Ukrainian authorities raided a warehouse. This warehouse was pretty close to the power company, and they raided it because they were using too much power. In fact, they were stealing power. And they were through using meters that were tampered with, they were stealing up to 186 on the low side, $186,000 a month to $259,000 a month. And they were going in there really expecting to see crypto mining. And they get in there and they see literally almost 4,000 PS4s. And these guys were so professional. You can't see it too well. They got amazingly good cable management back here. Yeah. They have these little wooden braces at the top that has a cutout for each PS4, so it fits in really nicely. And they, again, thought it was for crypto mining, but what they were actually mining was FIFA Ultimate Team, a soccer game by EA that is known for being able to trade cards. We've reported on it previously, how people from EA have sold really rare cards for a whole bunch of money. They were, and each year they reset FIFA Ultimate Team as well.
Yeah.
So they were mining that and selling that. And so they had to buy the game for each one. They had to buy the PS4s, or steal them, I guess. And they were faking out the electricity and just mining fake cards of soccer players.
So with that really quick, though, what I heard is they're actually going to challenge that in court, I guess where they're at, because of there's so many scandals with like people and corruption of like power and such, that they are saying that like they are not doing anything illegal. They need to prove to them that they were stealing power, because that wasn't the case. So what happens with that? I don't know, because,
this will be interesting.
Interestingly enough, what they seized in addition to the 3,800 PlayStation 4s was 500 graphics cards, 50 processors, phones, laptops, and documents on electricity consumption. So if they were not stealing it and they have documents on the electricity consumption, certainly somewhere is going to be the electric bill that they paid.
For sure.
Yep. Document everything.
Yep. Maybe not in
except
this
for
case.
when you're doing something illegal, and then document nothing.
Yeah, don't document this. So, Steam Deck, we talked about last week, new device that Valve is going to be putting out. That's going to be a handheld device. They talked about the specs they had. There was 3 different versions you're going to get based on the actual hardware size that's internal. When they pushed out the initial specs, they actually were incorrect. They went back and updated them again, which shows a massive memory bandwidth. This is a PC Gamer article, but basically the speeds and feeds now, it shows processor AMD APU, CPU is still the Zen 2. We have GPUs 8 RDNA, 2 CUs, 1.6 gigs. Then we also have up to 1.6 T-flops FP32. RAM is 16 gigs, LPDDR5 onboard RAM, so 5500 MTS quad 32-bit channel, and then the storage in based on whichever model you get. So this is actually pretty good news for most of us, because what we expected, this is a post from Twitter from Locuza, I think it is. It says, I expected 4 times 16-bit, a memory channel under LP DDR5. Is actually 16-bit wide, but the official spec claimed to be 5.5 gigabits or Gbps dual channel, which is didn't make sense to me, so it got corrected. So just an update there. If you guys are into getting the Steam Deck, then that's some good news for you.
Yeah, the big change there was the quad channel. I already drank for the cat. The big change there was that it was quad channel for the memory instead of dual channel. And the reason why that's important is, unlike a computer, in this case, the CPU and the GPU are sharing the same memory. The other thing is please, if you do go to get one, please understand that the base version, the 64 gigabit, is eMMC memory.
Yeah.
Which is equivalent to an SD card. And
Great.
if you, it is ever so slightly better than an SD card. An SD card is substantially slower than even a standard hard drive for transfers.
Yeah.
And then the other ones that they have are NVMe. So an SD card can do about 300 megabyte at the top end, and you never really see anywhere close to that. It's usually closer to like 20 to 30 megabyte per second, whereas NVMe can hit up to 7 terabytes per second. Although again, you don't see quite that fast. Typically you see somewhere around the 600 megabyte per second.
Well, I bought the lowest,
gigabyte.
so we'll do some science testing when it gets here.
Only if somebody else buys a higher one.
Yeah, I have.
Actually, what I'll
I
be
know
interested
4 people
to see,
who have bought all other 2 ranges. Actually, one person who got the highest,
love
one,
an
2 people got the
experiment.
middle. So
The scientific method. I love
exactly.
it.
And the other interesting thing is that in theory, you can swap out the NVMe in it. They don't say whether it's voiding your warranty or not, but they use a standard NVMe slot, so you can swap out the NVMe hard drive in it, or SSD really. So the interesting thing would be is if you still have the NVMe slot in yours and can put one in.
that would be interesting. I don't know if I want to open it up, but we'll find out for science.
That's what she said. So moving on to the new news. The new news about New World. New World, which is made by Amazon and is breaking video cards. Not
That's a thing.
stressing them out and making it difficult to run the game. It's literally bricking RTX 3090 cards.
Oh my god!
Fortunately,
3090.
though, yeah. I mean, there may be other ones that bricks as well, but 3090s are what they've seen the most.
the ones that are like
they-
the most problem to try to even get, like.
And apparently it's because it causes temperature spikes. You know, the FPS spikes up quite a bit and causes temperature to get out of control and causes problems with the cards. Interestingly enough, one of the manufacturers of the cards affected said that they'll go ahead and replace those cards gratis for free.
Are you trying to impede on my news?
Oh, shoot. I combined them and I
That's okay. So EVGA, if you have an EVGA model card, 3090, you're gonna get your replacement, and they've actually been replacing them fast, like super fast. That they are not delaying; they are already pushing these puppies out. So
Pushing these puppies out.
interestingly
Back in
enough,
my
the
day.
article,
they're putting those puppies out.
interestingly enough, the Windows Central article that talks about it bricking them also states New World is available for $40 for pre-order now because I want to get it if it's destroying video cards.
Heck yeah, dude! Let's do it. Oh, that's terrible. I'm not going to do that for science. I'm not going to pay. Not
No,
going to go
I
through
would
the
not
hassle
either.
of getting
No,
a 30
no.
anything to like have it be
So-
bricked.
Amazon did say they released a patch. They implemented a patch.
Oh, thanks, Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's you have to go to the menu to actually select it. So if you
have to
don't
opt
go
in.
through the hassle of that, you have to
opt
opt
into the
in.
patch.
Opt
That's
into your
crazy.
patch. Yeah.
I think this is I mean, I get that the game's doing it, but at the same time, that seems like a hardware problem that allows the temperatures to get up high enough, because the cards have have a thermal throttling built into them, where they just slow down when they get a certain amount of heat.
That's
anyway,
probably why EVGA is like, you know what? Here's your replacement. It's covered under warranty, technically.
It sounds like a combination of problems there, that's for sure.
It does. It
sounds like EVGA is going to somehow make more cards all of a sudden.
Maybe they got plenty.
You'll get that in 3 years.
Like, I can't afford this, so...
We'll get it to you in 3 years. Yeah. Next day delivery.
I don't know. They were already sending them out. So, get in where you fit in really fast. Sorry, that was at...
Oh, God. Get in where you fit in really fast.
That's the part I was...
2 hours and 2 minutes.
I was like, get in where you fit in.
Wow.
Okay, Kelly. Back to me for real this time. Ubisoft is releasing a new multiplayer FPS game, as if we didn't have enough of those, to actually compete with Call of Duty. And it's called X-Defiant.
X-Defiant.
It's like the scene when you had like all the X's before your name and after your name. It's like that. Hardcore.
It's interesting because it is billed as a Tom Clancy game, and it actually stars 3 of the factions from other Clancy games: the Echelon from Splinter Cell, the Wolves from Ghost Recon, and the Cleaners from The Division. Also the Outcasts from The Division as well. And they got a couple of people like Mark Rubin from Call of Duty. He worked on that in the past, also with Jason Schroeder, not necessarily from Call of Duty, just he's worked on Rocksmith and South Park, The Fractured But Whole. And they are working together on this game, and they described X-Defiant as a fast-paced firefights meets punk rock mosh pits.
Told you that's where they get the X from. It's the punk rock
Clancy game.
Yeah. I don't see anything wrong with
that. You're blind, my friend.
Oh, man. This is almost as bad as this next story. So, XCOM. If you're into XCOM, have no fear. They have ruined the series forever. So they took a Blizzard attempt to say, hey, you like XCOM? You have a phone? Your next game is on mobile. So XCOM has released a game that's going to be available in the Steam or in the iPhone and also Android store eventually. I went online, found the APK, downloaded it. It's terrible. It's a terrible game. Don't download it. It's not worth it. It is a really crappy looking, like any normal, like the ads you usually see for these games, you're like, I would never click on. That's what this game looks like. And I had to try it. They do the sense of like team versus team and like you're kind of behind, cover but the problem is there's no real turn based. Like you don't actually get to move your characters for that much. Like you can swap really quick, but there's no like sense of XCOM in this other than like a cheap, like ad ridden type game. So it's just not worth it, but it's out there if you want to look at it.
So the internet is going to be super, super fast. Japan just broke the internet speed with a 318 terabits per second transfer rate.
Which we just broke last year. Like we just talked about that.
Yeah, you guys talked about it. It's the Japan's National Institute of Information and Communication Technology, the NICT, just smashed the internet record. The last record was 179 terabits per second, which was a combo Japanese and British research. August 2020. So hopefully they did have to upgrade a lot of the pipeline. So they upgraded the fiber optics. They upgraded the channel comb lasers and all the fun stuff. I was supposed to say 552 channel comb laser as multiple wavelengths. Yeah. I forgot.
Hey, you did it. You did it. That's fine.
You did it. You did it, though. Get that deep voice going on.
Yeah. If you are listening to us on the podcast and not watching us on stream, I look very different. I've been told I look very, very different from what I sound like. I sound like I'm a very different. I'm teeny tiny and have a deep voice.
Oh my! So I guess that's an incentive for you guys to actually watch the video if you want.
There you go, or listen to the podcast. Tell me,
or
what
never
your
watch
thoughts
the
are.
video.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe never watch the video unless you want to see me drink.
So also speaking about fast, this company responded very quickly to something that they had gotten. So War Thunder is an MMO that bills itself as the most comprehensive free-to-play cross-platform military game dedicated to aviation, armored vehicles, and naval craft. And there was a user by the name of Fear Not that said, hey, you guys are really great, but you kind of missed the mark on the Challenger 2 tank. He said, as I've stated a few times now, the complexity of the construction is sometimes difficult to see or show with pictures. He says it's so complex, the Challenger 2 case, that I don't completely blame Gaijin for getting it incorrect, Gaijin being the developer. All I can try to do is point out areas where they're incorrect. So how he tried to point out they were incorrect was by sending them documentation on this tank, to which they responded. We have written confirmation from the Ministry of Defense that the document remains classified. By continuing to disseminate, you are in violation of the Official Secrets Act as stated by the warning on the cover of the document. An offense which can carry up to a 14-year prison sentence if prosecuted. Of this, you are already aware. As a service person, you have signed a declaration that you understand the act and what actions it compels you to take. Every time you post this, you place us, international representatives of Gaijin, especially any UK citizens, in hot water, as the warning so helpfully states that unauthorized retention of a protected document is an offense.
How many times have
This
you
guy
been?
is like awesome.
How many times have you been
Awesome. He's
in
insane.
a fight with your SO and been like, I wish I had all of this documentation to just prove you should not be saying this, or you are wrong.
Theme of the day: document everything. So next time you'll have
document everything. Secret,
but don't share the classified documents.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
Yeah, you don't take your marriage and tell your friends about it. That's
no
crazy.
bad.
So wrapping it up today. So we have a new developer, I guess you could say, into the game space. So another business has entered the gaming space. Peloton, if you're familiar with the pedaling bikes that you can have, they've actually announced that they're going to be making a new game tentatively called Lane Break. The game is going to basically be for Peloton owners. If you have and you're a subscriber, it's still going to have the same thing with cadence and the same thing being able to change your difficulty. It looks from this Verge article, it actually says it reminds them of Rainbow Road, essentially, like in Mario Kart. The idea, the way it looks, almost looks like Guitar Hero, where there's like a track and there's a wheel in the front, and as you pedal, you have to collect different things as the road keeps moving. And eventually, somehow, they're going to make me get on it, because I still have yet to hardly use it. But apparently now this is a way for me to actually like incentivize myself to using the Peloton. So pretty cool. Also, because that's shortly realized like recently that we know like Netflix is also trying to break into the game space. So really interesting to see a bunch of different companies trying to like kind of go above and beyond what they're used to doing, and just, you know, seeing what the game industry is about. So it's always good for competition.
Absolutely.
All right. So, getting into our emails for the day. We don't have any. But if we did, we'd read them here. GOA@sassgaming.com, GOA@SASSgaming.com, and you'll read your email out loud, hopefully. And you can tell us about whatever you want to. See something
Tell
cool.
us about the classified documents that you've leaked.
Yeah, that works
Please
too.
do.
Whistle blow on any company that you work for, whatever. So
Yeah, right.
So send us an
We will
email.
broadcast it to the world for you, within reason.
Yeah, we may have to interview you and put you like on like the silhouette where you can't see them, but like so.
Our
anyway.
single interview video does well.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually it does. So yeah, if you're interested.
Oh wait, no, we've had two.
Yeah, we've had two. So if you are interested, send us an email. Other than that, that is what got our attention this week. If you're interested in checking out the podcast live, you can check us out on Twitch, typically on Thursdays. Sometimes we end up on a Saturday like we're doing it this week, but that's not typical. But if you're interested in that, you can check us out. If you can't catch us live, you can always check it out on YouTube. We do put the video up on our YouTube page, youtube.com/SAS Gaming, because we actually have the ability to do that now.
Yes.
So there's there. And if you're wanting to support us in any other way, you can definitely check out our Patreon. It's patreon.com/SAS Gaming. And feel free to subscribe to any tier that you feel comfortable with. So again, if you want to follow me personally, I don't know why, but if you did, is Zycia, XYCIA on Twitch, or XYCIA Gaming on Instagram, and what's the other one? Twitter. So yeah. What about you, Brun?
They follow you because you're sexy and you have a sexy voice.
I don't know about all that. Cool.
I don't even know why I did that.
That was great.
That was awesome. I loved it.
We're going to clip that.
Yeah. You can find me at Phoenix Nova, PHOENNIX_Nova on Twitch. Get rid of the underscore for everything else, including YouTube, which is where you're going to find most of my stuff. Kelly, how about yourself?
You can find me on most social network platforms, yada yada yadas, at Daydrinker ATL. I did just post, I think last week, a picture of my very favorite flip flops that were given to me by some friends from Brazil. They're the flip flops that I love the most, but wear the least because I adore them. But they are Princess Peach and Yoshi. They're super cute.
That's
Check
awesome.
it out.
Well, cool. Until next time, you have something else, Brian? Did I see you hesitate for a second? Did you have something?
I was just saying a bit of trivia that the transcriber hears Daydrinker's names and translates it to things like, oh, I am dangerous for Atil on Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram.
Now you're really going to mess it up.
She's dangerous.
I am
Dangerous for Atil.
Yes. Dangerous is not my middle name.
Until next
Nor is it
time,
my first
it's
or
been
last.
great. We love all you guys. Actually,
Thank you
do me a
for-
favor. Send us a picture of you and your animal. So if you have a dog, cat, whatever your animal is, send us a picture to our
Dog,
email.
cat, lizard, bird,
I will post it.
tarantula.
We will post it on our next video at the end during our email
Jumping
section.
spider.
I will show all of the animals on screen on the video for the YouTube. So if you have one, send it over to an email and we'll check it out. So until next time, y'all just be safe. Love each other. Take care.
Love you guys.